Hi, and welcome back to another one of our videos. Today we will be talking about leadership and wealth. Many leaders from both past and present have amassed large amounts of wealth during their reign. Legitimate or not, let's find out. Before we begin, thank you for seeing another of our incredible videos once more. We post videos regularly, so be sure not to miss any. To enjoy more videos like this, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button to be the first to get our videos. In today's video, we'll be looking at the top 10 wealthiest rulers in human history. Most names on the list are about the world's richest corrupt rulers who have controlled significant territories and industries during their time. Some are also successful at leadership and achieved greatness through that. Now let's begin. Number 10, Ferdinand Marcos. We begin our list at number 10, Ferdinand Marcos. The former Philippines leader was one of the most corrupt of all, with a sheer display of cruelty. Ferdinand Marcos is the 6th-ranked wealthiest ruler in the world. He was known as the Philippines president from 1972 to 1986, and together with his first lady, Imelda Marcos, they ruled over the country with iron hands while stacking up a lot of assets along the way. Since assuming the Philippines throne in 1972, he was focused on accelerating the country's regression in terms of socialism through low infrastructure building, raising wages and taxes, and expanding state power. Ferdinand Marcos embezzled over $53 billion in today's money value, and then went on a self-imposed exile to cover his tracks during his dictatorship. His wife was said to own more than 3,000 designer shoes. Wow. Number 9, Suharto. The Suharto regime in Indonesia has been responsible for distributing wealth in the country for more than half a century. Since 1945, when it assumed power, the dynasty has been responsible for transferring as much wealth as possible to its members without raising taxes on anyone. This has led to criticism from civil society groups, international organizations, and others who say that the system promotes corruption and grows increasingly unfair. Suharto amassed a personal net worth estimated at $55 billion, making him the world's 5th richest ruler on our list and placing him among the upper echelon of Asian political records of nepotism, corruption, and collusion. He was a military despot and was 2004 proclaimed by Transparency International as the world's most corrupt leader of the late 20th century, after he resigned in 1998. He ruled for 31 years. Number 8. Ali Abdullah Saleh. Ex-Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh embezzled vast sums of money during his dictatorship from 1990 to 2012. Most of the funds were from the country's reserves, and following the Arab Spring protest, his reign came to an end. According to a United Nations Security Council report in 2015, his total earnings as a dictator were pegged at around $65 billion. His money was scrupulously spread across multiple bank accounts in Europe and America. He was also said to have amassed land properties, cash, shares, gold, and other valuable commodities. There were also some illegal activities Saleh was involved in that earned him at least $2 billion a year. Number 7. HOSNI MUBARAK. Corrupt leaders dominate this list of top 10 wealthiest rulers in the world. Leaders across the globe have unique qualities that attract them to this list. For example, there is no consensus on what was the best leader in Egypt. But there's no denying that Hosni Mubarak is one of the most powerful men in Egyptian history. Although his official estimate is around $70 billion, a new estimate sprung up in 2011 about his family fortune, which could have his net worth estimated at up to $700 billion, with 75 tons of Egyptian gold in U.S. Federal Reserves. This alone is worth $500 billion. His family was also engaged in bribery, corruption, and legitimate business activities during his 30-year service. Number 6. Vladimir Putin. According to Forbes magazine, the most wealthy individual is Russian President Vladimir Putin, with an estimated net worth of $200 billion. Most of his wealth has been tied up in numerous banks in the West. Putin is already Russia's longest-serving leader since the time of Joseph Stalin. According to a recent bill passed in Russia's legislation, Putin might be Russia's #1 citizen until 2036, which is still enough time to amass some more wealth. Although his annual presidential salary is just $113,000, his influence and power are believed to have helped him leverage his lifestyle and bump his net worth value. He already has a 4.5% stake in gas producers Gazprom, 37% stake in oil companies Surgut Neftegas and Swiss Governor. These companies make an estimated $200 billion annually, so do the math. Number 5. Muammar Gaddafi. Up next is another head of state, this time the famous Libyan tyrant. Muammar Gaddafi had a net worth estimated at $200 billion. He's not only the eldest son of Libya's founding father, King Idris, but he was also one of the most colorful characters in modern Middle East politics. Even after his death, the location of Gaddafi's wealth remains a mystery, as even his frozen funds are still somehow generating revenue for unknown beneficiaries. Muammar Gaddafi ruled for 40 years and made Libya an economic powerhouse, building up what would become one of the world's most expensive oil supplies. But his rule was not without controversy. All his embezzled wealth was reported to have been stashed away in secret bank accounts via shady investments and suspect real estate deals. Number 4. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan was known as one of the most terrifying emperors in human history and the world's greatest conqueror. His practices and policies helped him accumulate all of his wealth. It seems that the key to ancient riches was to be cruel. Khan possibly held trillions of dollars, but these numbers are not verifiable due to the historical inaccuracies. He owned hundreds of territories that can be equally measured with continents of today's world. He was also best known for leading the Mongolian steppe to challenge the Jin dynasty, successfully building the largest empire of ancient times. His peak net worth was possibly in the hundreds of trillions, and he owned over 12 million square miles of land. Number 3. King Solomon of Israel. King Solomon received 25 tons of gold for 40 years of his reign. That's over 1,000 tons of gold. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Measuring the value of ancient riches is quite tricky, but we all know King Solomon was also very wise in both family and business affairs. He amassed a lot of wealth and is estimated to have been worth $2 trillion today. Even if that number isn't accurate, that is quite enormous for one person. He built the first temple of Jerusalem and was just the second and then the last king of unified Israel. He married over 700 wives and had 300 concubines. Enough said. Number 2. Emperor Shenzong of Song. Shenzong was a massive ruler that accounted for most of the world's GDP for most of his reign from 1067 to 1085. He was also valued at the trillions and is undoubtedly one of the richest men that ever lived. The only barrier in giving him an accurate value was that it was difficult to separate his country's wealth from his. He was also notorious for collecting taxes and devising new policies to improve the lives of the poor. Nevertheless, Shenzong had complete control over everything he ruled over, being the 6th emperor of the Song dynasty. Shenzong also was victorious at funding his armies with great resources to win any battle. This made him the most feared ruler in the world at the time. The emperor was also known to have bought Muslim warriors from the Arab world. He later passed away due to an unspecified illness and was succeeded by his wife and son, who took the throne as Emperor Zhezong. Number 1. Augustus Caesar. We've come to the main event, the wealthiest ruler of all times. Augustus Caesar was the first of the emperors of the Roman Empire, and he was said to have been worth over $4 trillion in today's currency. He accounted for nearly 30% of the world's gross domestic production during his time and ridiculously owned 1/5 of the Roman Empire. The monarch was one of the most successful rulers in human history, and he also spearheaded Rome's transformation from a republic to an empire. He was also known as one of the most influential leaders that ever lived. Augustus ruled the vast empire of Rome from 27 BC until he eventually died in 14 AD. He possessed a lot of personal fortune, which at one point in time included a country. Many believed that Augustus Caesar owned the whole of Great Egypt during the world domination Roman Empire. What killed the emperor was then what made him: war and wealth. Both factors began to take a wrong turn as he counted his final years as a world leader. With that, we come to the end of our list. If you enjoyed it, why don't you tell us what you think about all the unbelievable men and their worth? Incredible, right? Let's all hear your views in the comments section. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to notify a new video like this is out immediately. Have a great day.